Everybody comes home from the island that night. Everybody, except him. It's the 4th of July 2026. A group of teenagers boats out to a wild, empty island off the coast of Mississippi. No houses, no roads, nothing but sand and water. They swim, they celebrate. And when the sun goes down, the boats turn around and head home. But 18-year-old Nolan Wells doesn't get on a boat. He's a college football player. He can swim. And somehow, on a crowded holiday, he disappears from that island. No witness who saw it happen. No phone in his hand. No answer to one simple question. 2 days later, a park ranger finds his body in the water, just off the shore. The cause of death? One word. Undetermined. I'm Cole, and this is Midnight Files. Nolan Xavier Wells was 18, a wide receiver headed to keep playing ball at Southwest Mississippi Community College. His mom called him the kindest soul, a kid who never met a stranger, who'd have turned 19 the next month. The last time she heard from him was July 3rd. He cooked his parents' dinner, kissed her at the door and said, "Hey Mom, I'm about to go, I love you." Then he left for a friend's house. That was the last conversation they ever had. The next morning, the 4th of July, Nolan and a group of friends took a boat out to Horn Island. It's a barrier island off the Mississippi coast, uninhabited, no shelter, no bathrooms, barely any signal, just sand, water, and on a holiday, a crowd partying on the beach. GPS data shows their boat hit the island a little after 11 that morning, and for a few hours, it was just a normal 4th of July, until it wasn't. Investigators say Nolan was last seen around 3 p.m., but there's a piece of that afternoon people are still fighting over. The family's attorney Ben Crump described a video going around online, what he called an argument on the island, where he says you can hear Nolan's voice. "Give me my freaking phone. What are you freaking doing?" Then another friend, Trayston Shepard, went on national TV and said no. That wasn't Nolan yelling. That was him. The sheriff's office has never confirmed any fight, but they did ask the public for video of an alleged altercation. So, before anything else even happens, there's a phone, an argument, and 2 different stories about it. Around 4 o'clock, one of the boats out there started taking on water. A teenager on board called a private towing company. You can hear him on the released audio, "We're sinking. Can y'all please come?" But that tow never happened. The boat's owner called in and said they'd already found help, and the boat made it back to land that evening, but Nolan wasn't on it. His friend Warren Hudson later said Nolan wasn't on that sinking boat at all, that Nolan chose to stay behind on the island. "It's not like we didn't ask Nolan or we just left Nolan," Hudson said. Nolan decided to stay on the island with the girl that he was with. And that's where this whole case cracks open. Because according to Crump, the boys say Nolan stayed to talk to that girl, but the young woman herself reportedly says the opposite. She says Nolan told her he was going back to get on the boat with the guys. Crump put it flat. One of them is telling the truth. One is not. Same afternoon. 2 accounts. They cannot both be true. That night, the friends were home. Nolan wasn't. Around 11 p.m., his mother, Christine, got a call from Warren, and something in her went cold. She started checking his location. His Snapchat said one thing, but his Life 360, another tracking app, said something else entirely. It showed his phone was already back on the mainland. His phone was on land. So where was Nolan? She reported him missing just before midnight. And then comes one of the strangest parts of this story. That same night, a family friend went to retrieve Nolan's phone from the house he'd been staying at. And his father went to get Nolan's car and keys from a different friend's home. And the parents say getting those things back was not simple. They've said they had issues. When they finally opened that phone, Christine and her sister went through it. And she says his Snapchat from that entire day was empty. No photos. No videos. Nothing. For a kid who posted everything. Which made her wonder if something had been deleted. Crump seized on it too. A teenager with no phone, and parents who found that phone before the police did. Now, to be clear, investigators have never said the phone was tampered with. That's the family's fear, not a finding. But it's why they refuse to just wait quietly. Because by the next morning, This had become a search, and that search was about to turn into something no parent survives. At first light on July 5th, Nolan's father went out to the island by boat, with Nolan's football coach, to look for his son with his own hands. Around them, a small army formed, the Park Service, the Coast Guard, the Cajun Navy, boats, a plane, a helicopter. But early on, law enforcement wasn't treating this as a tragedy yet. In their own records, a deputy wrote that the friends said Nolan had stayed on the island, in the company of an unknown female, and that the most likely explanation was that he'd caught a ride back on another boat, without his phone. In other words, he'll turn up. He did not turn up. Monday, July 6th. The boats went back out at dawn, and at 8:45 that morning, the sheriff confirmed the call everyone was dreading. A body. In the water. At the northwestern tip of Horn Island, the exact spot where Nolan was last seen. It was found by a park ranger. By early afternoon, Christine was posting on Facebook, telling the world the body was her son. Sources later told ABC News how he was found, wearing only his swim trunks, face down in the water. On its own, that's consistent with a drowning. And that one word is where this case tears in half. On one side, there's the water itself. The county coroner told CNN the currents around these islands can be vicious, that they've pulled in drowning victims many times over the years. And experts say something most people don't want to hear. Drowning is often fast and completely silent. It doesn't look like the movies. It's terrifyingly easy to slip under a few feet from other people and have no one notice. So maybe a strong swimmer got caught by a current he couldn't beat. But Nolan's family never believed that was the whole story. And soon, a second autopsy would give them a reason. On July 7th, the family hired Ben Crump, citing contradictions and silence from investigators. The state had already done its own autopsy, but those results were sealed. So the family sent Nolan's body to Washington, D.C. for a second, independent exam by a nationally known forensic pathologist, Dr. Roger Mitchell, paid for, according to USA Today, by former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick. Within days, Nolan's parents were on Good Morning America, standing beside Reverend Al Sharpton at a press conference in New York. And when that second autopsy came back, it didn't answer the question. It multiplied it. But something ugly was happening around the case, too. The friends who'd been on that island became targets. Warren Hudson's stepmother posted screenshots of death threats and said she feared for her kids. Trayston Shepard said he and other friends were getting them, too. Meanwhile, the internet filled up with things that weren't even real. A pool party photo that actually happened a week earlier. AI-generated images of Nolan passed around like evidence. Crump himself had to warn people, reposting something doesn't make it true. The facts were getting buried. And the family still wanted the one thing nobody could give them. Then, on July 22nd, Crump stepped in front of the NAACP National Convention to reveal what that independent autopsy found. And the answer was that there was no answer. Cause of death, undetermined. Manner of death, undetermined. Even the date he died, unknown. But it was the reasons why that stopped people cold. By the time the pathologist examined the body, it was so decomposed he couldn't even tell if there were bruises. He found no cuts, no skull fractures, but one thing stood out. A patch of red discoloration on the back of Nolan's head, about 12 inches by 8. What caused it? Unclear. Whether it mattered? Unclear. But the most disturbing part wasn't what he found. It was what was missing. When Dr. Mitchell received the body, parts of it were gone. The throat, the structures in the neck, hadn't been sent with it, which meant he could not rule out an injury to the neck. He couldn't check the airway for water. He couldn't check the stomach. There was no toxicology. So, instead of answers, he was left with the one question that sits at the center of everything. Was Nolan conscious when he went into that water? Or not? Did he go in on his own? Or was he forced? Because that single question, conscious or unconscious, forced or unforced, is the entire difference between an accident and a homicide. And he could not say which. The state's own autopsy is still sealed until a grand jury reviews it. The toxicology still isn't back. The FBI is helping comb the digital evidence. More than 60 people have been interviewed, including the 3 friends who went out with him, who have cooperated. The reward for answers has climbed to $125,000, backed by Sharpton, Tyler Perry, and Terrell Owens. And through all of it, one thing has stayed constant. Investigators have identified no foul play, named no suspect, and charged no one. Which means, right now, this is still a mystery with no villain, and no ending. So here's where it leaves us. Nolan went to an island with his friends. His friends came home. He did not. His phone came back without him. His body turned up in the water 2 days later, and 2 separate autopsies could not say how he died. We don't know why he stayed. We don't know why the 2 accounts don't match. We don't know why his Snapchat was empty, or what left that mark on the back of his head. And we do not know whether Nolan walked into that water, or whether something happened to him first. His mother said it in the simplest words there are. The only question we have is, what happened to our son? And his father, voice breaking, repeated the rule he raised Nolan on. If you go with 5, you come back with 5. Nolan went out with a group that morning. He's the one who didn't come home. The grand jury hasn't met. The toxicology isn't back. The state's report is still sealed. This story isn't finished. It's being written right now, on the Mississippi coast. So I'll leave you with the question $125,000 still can't answer. On a crowded island, in broad daylight, how does a strong swimmer end up in the water, with not one single person who can say they saw it happen? What do you think happened to Nolan Wells? Tell me in the comments. I'm Cole. This is Midnight Files. Stay safe out there.